Good morning, my dear friends. Due to very cool weather condition, I was not able to complete my discussion on the basis of your lot of queries for a quite some time. And finally, on this great day of our Republic of India, I convey my warm, heartfelt greetings to all of you for this 73rd Republic Day. Today, I want to discuss few questions of my beloved friends. As far as possible, there are a lot of questions. I am simply replied a little few, and I shall be trying to address all these questions in coming days. Today I shall discuss one of my friend. He want to know how to calculate the young modulus from n value. His basic problem was the formation is C0 soil, the granular soil, where n value, it is very difficult to collect the undisturbed soil where n value is only alternative often for us. We know the Hooke's law, stress per strain is elastic modulus or young modulus. In cohesive soil, we can conduct unconfined compression test, triaxial shear test, and from there we can calculate the stress and strain. Stress we can calculate from other tests also, but strain we can calculate from very correctly and efficiently from the unconfined compression only, because the strain varies with the confinement of lateral pressure, that is sigma 3, sigma 1 equal to sigma 2. Some says sigma 1 and sigma 2 is stress and sigma 3 is lateral stress. This vertical stress, that is sigma 1, which is equal to sigma 2. That means action equal to opposite reaction. So from this relationship we can calculate our stress and strain relationship. But where there is no undisturbed samples are available, in case very cautiously, if anyone collect one undisturbed sample from sun deformation using triple tube barrel, bottom discharge triple tube barrel, which is too costly affairs. Yet there are least possibilities of conducting other shear test from that course because it is friable in nature. Sun is friable in nature. There are a lot of empirical relationship developed from n value also. With density also there are empirical relationship from n value also, but most popularly correlation between Young modulus and n value is most commonly used. We must be careful about the adopting of n value as a base for our assessment for estimation of Young modulus, since this relationship varies plus minus 400% up to plus minus 400%, maybe 10%, maybe 20%, or maybe 400%. This variation is there. There are so many empirical relationships which have a lot of variation possibilities. However, there are equations. One equation is very old equation, that is Young modulus equal to 750 plus 80 n in ton per meter square. In some cases it has differ from 50 to 75%, plus minus 50 to 75%. And in case of C, if C is available, then it is 600 Cu. Elastic modulus equal to 600 Cu. The constant, multiple constant valid for 100 to 1000. In this regards, these are all empirical relationships. Some has find it, so they stated in some books or some technical papers, journals. However, I sincerely request all of you to go through in books like Bowles, Scott, Alan Sings, etc. We should not forget that most of these empirical relationships based on research of developed countries, especially American countries. So their soil in our soil has some difference. As for instance, in India also, one size grain sand is available in Madras only. Otherwise, it is in Madras 1 mm means 1 mm. There will be no 1.1. It is naturally from sand, so it is called standard sand, Madras standard sand. For such reason, I suggest to go for more confirmation and more information from books, so that your estimation cannot be misleaded. Another one of my beloved friends, he asked the relationship between NVALU and SBC. In my one earlier lecture, I had already discussed that NVALU is the origin of SBC analyzing method. Before that, before NVALU, what we did, we hammered down a wooden piece or a steel of known weight. We are allowing to fall at ground to penetrate some as far as the shear strength. Using kinetic theory, we can calculate the soil resilience. That means load absorbing capacity of the soil. Then thereafter we are applying some amount of safety factor. In those days it was normally 2 is tolerable limit and 3 was allowable limit. So this type of things we have discussed in my earlier videos. You see, NVALU for sandy soil, we must go to NVALU only. What anyone says it is from phi, from direct shear test or triaxial shear test, it will be very difficult because we have to go for remolding the sample. Remolding means it is disturbed. We cannot make it in situ condition. Even it is very difficult to carry the granular sample from site to laboratory without any disturbance. So we must accept the NVALU criteria also. In our India, in our BIS code IS 6403 has some specific recommendation for SBC. There are some equations also, but basic purpose is to find out the phi. We know the granular soil has no C because adhesive force is 0, only frictional force. So frictional force we can calculate from the NVALU itself. Code has recommended, not only code, long back it was recommended by Raymond and Tarzaghi also. Raymond, after the presentation of his split spoon sampler, he had conducted and demonstrated the SBC from SBC and blows, and our IS 8009 part 1 had clear guidelines how to calculate the SBC and settlement. And in earlier days, in Peck, Hansen, Thunburn, Tarzaghi, in their days, they considered for sandy soil 0.8 N in SBC ton per meter square. In case of clay, it 1.2 N ton per meter square, both C and phi clay. So from this N value we can calculate the frictional angle phi directly from N value, and from there we can go for cohesion component will be 0. Next, weight and surcharge component, adapting both two components, we can calculate the SBC. In case of clay soil, normally we can calculate the unconfined compressive strength from N value, which is Cn. C is compressive, C is constant varying from 1.2 to 1.35. Earlier it was considered as 1.2, now it is 1.2 to 1.35. From this compressive strength value, we can also calculate the C value, because there is a accepted theory is Q equal to 2 C plus tan 45 by 5 by 2. It's alpha. During our shear test, this is the failure. This is the failure, and this angle is considered as beta, which is equal to 45 plus 5 by 2. So from that criteria we can calculate the C also, considering 5 value from 5 to 10 depending upon the liquid limit and plastic limit. We can calculate that. But in such cases we have to do one thing. Let us calculate C value considering phi value as 5 and other C value considering phi value as 10, or any one, but it should not be more than 10. In such cases we should go for SBC analysis for C and phi, for phi equal to 5 degree against some known C, and for phi equal to 10 degree against some corresponding that C value of with that angle, because in this equation 45 plus 5 by 2, if phi became is 5, if we consider phi as a 5, then this will be little higher, and if we consider it is phi as a 10, this will C value will be little lower. In both cases we have to calculate the SBC, and finally we have to consider one which is close to very average. Another question I have received, this question is, SBC failure criteria, whether it is decided by the soil formation or from other sources. we should not forget that our soil mechanics not is today's science. Undoubtedly, in 19th century, after Basinak, 19th century, Basinak, Peck, Tanchan, Tajagi, they have developed and streamlined from our some common practice, online common practice, to a specific guidebooks, to make a specific guidebook. In our ancient literature, mainly the Vastu Shastra. In Vastu Shastra, this soil mechanics means relative density of the soil, color and relative density and permeability of soil. With these three aspects, they concentrate for the construction activities. Relative density, that means less the void, soil is relatively more dense. Less the permeability, soil will be relatively more dense. So, in Vastu Shastra, in the line of Vastu Shastra's instruction, our modern scientists also, Tarzaghi and all others, they have also calculated two methods. All these are based on relative density. One method is void index. Void index, if it is less than 0.55, then general shear failure, and if it is greater than 0.75, void is greater than 75, then local shear failure. In relative density, if it is greater than 75%, then general shear failure, and if it is relative density is less than 0.25, then it is local shear failure. This is a clear, only relative density is the deciding criteria of the failure classification, whether it is general shear failure or local shear failure. General shear failure means 100%, or local shear failure means 66.7%. So, in between, that will be intermediate. So, in my all worksheets, I introduced a term efficiency factor. A term efficiency factor. This is from void index. Efficiency factor EF equal to 1 minus 1.665 within bracket E0 minus 0.55 under rule 5.2.1 of IS 6403. In relative density, efficiency equal to 1 minus 0.666 within bracket 0.75 minus relative density by 100. That means it is not in percentage. So, in this equation, you maybe there is you may be having one question where I am getting 1.665 and 0.665. You may raising this question where I am getting 1.665. I will say, what is our basic difference of this general shear failure and local shear failure? It is first is general shear failure means 1, local shear failure means 0.667. That means 1 minus 0.667, it became 0.333. And what is our difference of void? Void is 0.75 minus 0.55. That means it is 2. So 0.333 divided by 0.2, it is coming 1.665. Accordingly, this also 0.333 divided by 0.75 minus 0.25, so it became 0.666. Automatically, when you will be making an equation, it will be very easy to solve the problem. Otherwise, every time you have to check what is the intermediate value. If it is more than 75%, there is no problem. Less than 75, there is no problem. But in between, normally there are chances of 75%, and less than 25% relative density. I do not suggest for shallow foundation there, because this 25% relative density means it is very soft soil. Of course, it is overall international standard. In our Indian standard, it is 70 and 20%. It is 70 and 20%. See here, there is some input value restriction is there. Void ratio, if it is less than 0.55, you have to consider as 0.55. If it is more than 0.75, you must consider it 0.75. Accordingly, the relative density also, upper limit is 75% and lower limit is 25%. I hope it will be surely help you in calculation. You can use this equation directly. There is no any problem. I do not have any copyright or anything else. You can use directly this equation. Another question is, perhaps he is a professional engineer. He asked, how many steps checking is necessary in the SBC analysis? SBC means the safe load. Our design load shall be safe against shear failure and excessive settlement failure. The limitation of settlement for different type of structures are given right from tall structure, steel structure, RCC structure and RCC panel structure. For different type of structure, for different soils, for sand soil, hard clay soil, soft plastic clay, different soil, there is a table in IS 1904. In 19 IS 1904, there is a table. We must cross the limit of that table. We are not allowed to cross. The SBC should be safe against shear and settlement failure both. Settlement failure means the permissive to anticipated settlement shall not exceed the limited settlement permission. Say for some structure the settlement is permissible for 60 mm. Our calculated settlement, that is anticipated, we can just anticipate the settlement with some theories. There are some elastic settlement, there are some consolidation settlement. With all this settlement, we can just anticipate that this much of settlement, we can anticipate the calculated settlement of this. So our anticipated settlement should not be more than our permissible limit of that table. 1904, this table is our basic guidelines. We should not cross the limit. These are suggested, these two failures are suggested by courts. But it is simply a guideline, it is not a Bible for us, it is simply a guideline. Even most of the courts except American and British courts, ASTM and British code, except those code, our all Indian courts do not accommodate the original earth pressure theory introduced by Rankine. Neither it was included in our codes nor suggested by any books. Our SBC should be also based on this. This earth pressure theory nowadays only required in foundation engineering for designing a floating foundation. I do not know why this so important equation was neglected. In my personal opinion, I feel it is more essential to estimate the SBC using minimum 3 methods. Say one C5 method, one SPT method, another lot of equations in our Indian Standard Code, like in 2911 part 1 there is a one equation which is for pile end bearing capacity. So pile end bearing capacity, our SBC for shallow foundation is same. In pile there are two components, one is skin resistance, another is end bearing. So in that equation, n value is there and the length is there. So instead of length, our depth of foundation is there. So we can rearrange that equation. We can go for rearranging, go for calculation of this SBC. And finally, the selected or lowest value. I am not going to say that this lowest value should be adopted. Sometime if our input data for the lowest values is not proper, so our value will be necessarily low. And if three methods we are using, one is abruptly high, one is abruptly low, that means there is some out of this there may be some wrong input. So we must mark it question. Which is, we have to select which is wrong input. From there, so I used selected. From the selected value, we have to go for settlement checking. After settlement checking, if it is, we get the anticipated settlement is within the limit of as per IS 1904, then we have to go for earth pressure checking as a minimum depth of foundation. Is a minimum depth of foundation which is 1 P by B, P by gamma 1 plus sine phi and 1 minus sine phi squared. I have forgotten this equation, but in my all worksheet this equation is there, and we can rearrange this equation also. Rearranging this equation, we can go for SBC also for that depth. So if our depth checking is using this earth pressure theory, if we get it is safe in all aspects, we can say it is our allowable ship bearing capacity. Here I want to add one more thing. We are assuming that our calculated loads are full and final. What we have calculated, it is full and final. There may be some amount of accidental loads too. During earthquake, from adjacent columns, etc. During some landscape, some earth pressure will be there. There may be exceptional and accidental loads may be come up to the same loading. We do not know. So we must check for that also. In my all worksheets which are published earlier, I have already presented for different steps checkings. In seismic cases, our allowable limit is 25%, so I am considering 25% higher value at one side and 25% lower value at opposite side. What will be the resultant deflection of the foundation soil? Below the foundation, this checking was there. So, in such cases, in my opinion, I request you, I suggest you, request you, we must, especially for important and community structures, these conditions are also duly be considered for more safety of a structure. Another question is how to make correction of SPT value. SPT value, actually there are one important aspect of the SPT value is because we all know that our soil density is generally mainly because of overburden pressure, overburden weight. The overburden weight basically resisted by shear strength of soil and pore water pressure. So, Raymond, after introduction of his split spoon sampler, he proposed two correction. One is overburden correction, another is dilatancy correction. Dilatancy corrections means fine grained sand and silt. First, initially, one or two blows, it will be penetrated very naturally, just penetrate without any difficulties. After little penetration, the numbers of blows tremendously increasing, mainly because of those soil drained out the pore water pressure on vibration. That is, texture to be gaining of strength. If you take some silt, if you take some amount of silt in a liquid limit device or in hand, if we taking some moist silty soil in your palm and make some with a pencil, you hammer it very gently, you please strike it, and then you see the water will be coming out gradually. So during same phenomenon has been developed during hammering. The pore water from this type of soil is quickly released and becoming soil is harder than earlier stage. So in such cases, dilatancy correction became necessary. You see, the correction in my all worksheet, what happened, I am not using any graph or any recommended figure. I am converting to equation only, so that one can easily calculate instead of being every time the figure or graph. Overburden correction, NC, that means N is filled N. Neglecting the N numbers of blows for the first 15 centimeter, and this N is second and third 15 centimeter numbers of blows, and NC is the corrected N value, and we can calculate this corrected N value, and FC is correction factor corresponding to overburden pressure. This equal to 2 divided by within bracket 1 plus 0.01 P, rho P, where P is the overburden pressure in kilonewton per meter square. So with this equation, we can go for overburden correction, but this value should not be less than 0.5 and greater than 0.2. Greater than 2. It should be 0.5 to 2. There are innumerable this type of equation. There are a lot of equations on the basis of the same original equation. same original equation of Tarzaghi and Tang. They have introduced one equation which was in PSI, pound per square inch. 50 divided by 28 overburden plus 10. So accordingly that type of equation is there, but in that equation initially some values are more than 2, more than double. So in this equation it will be always less than 2. In IS 2131, this figure also, it is starting from 2 and ending at 0.47. So using this equation you can easily calculate make this and below overburden corrections. Dilatancy correction is 15 plus NC minus 15 divided by 2, where NC is corrected value. NC must be more than 15. In case of greater than 15 only, its correction is necessary. Another is, this is for a particular 30 centimeter value. Our foundations shall be much bigger than that. Whether that particular 30 centimeter value shall hold good for say about 5 meter by 5 meter foundation or not. In such cases, IS 6403 and IS 8009 has recommended some principles. Although we are conducting the SPT test at an interval of 1.5, but for this calculation purpose we have to calculate, we have to find out the series of values for 75 centimeter interval up to 1.5 to 2 times B, and we have to take the average of those all the values. And another condition is there, any individual value if exceeded by 50% of the average value, then that value shall be neglected and recalculated. So during calculation, say considering 1.5 B, say our foundation size is say 5 meter, then we have to go for 5 from the depth of foundation to another 1.5, that is 7.5 meter, df minus 7.5 meter, and 75 centimeter interval we will be getting 11 values. Out of that 11 values we have to calculate the average, and if any individual value greater than 50% of average, then that value should be neglected, and after neglecting that value we have to recalculate it. So this is simple, there is no problem. However, in earlier days, it was termed as weighted average, NW. Weighted average, it is 3 NE1. NE means after this correction, Ne1 plus 2 Ne2 and Ne3 divided by 6. That means it is considered that our load shall be distributed up to 1.5b and gradually impact of the load on these values will be decreasing. So this first say it is first one third of B, that is this n value is more responsible and this will be 50% responsible, this will be less responsible. For that accordingly we have calculated. In this equation you see NW weighted average and is double corrected, and that means double corrected means it is overburden correction and dilatancy correction. In these assumption, load shall be distributed below to a larger B equal to B plus L. In some says, Bosinnak says twice B, Westergaard says 1.5 B, Tarzagi says B plus L. These are, for more information, you please go through textbooks of Bowles and Scotts. Bowles and Scotts, they have some elaborate discussion, and Winterkorn also. This, I hope you do not have any problem, and if necessary, worksheets. I have worksheets, no problem. If you want, I can send it. Or that day one of my beloved friend has asked me, I told him there are best two alternatives. One, yourself should come to my place. I will give my whole day time, 1 day, 3 day, 1 week, 1 month, 2 months, any time you require, I can give it to you. Or I may go to you, but I cannot go from myself. You have to arrange my going and coming. So these are the best alternatives for you. Open, all doors are open for you. You may come to me for 1 month, 2 months, how many times you require, I can give you my time. Or you can take me 1 month, 2 months, I can give, no problem. I am useless, workless, old man, so I can give full time to you. I received one very lovely question from my one beloved friend. It is non-technical question. Non-technical. It is non-technical for you all, but it is most technical for me, for my life. The question is, he asked me, had I been in any love affairs during my early life? First, I tried to avoid this question immediately, but yes, I love all. I love you and all. Because I am made of love only. All says our body is made of 5 elements. I am saying my life is made of one element, that is love. L-O-V-E, love. So I love everyone. Even I love God also. I am not God-fearing man. I love God. I love plant also. I love sky also. I love moon also, sun also. Everything I love. That gentleman, he already asked me, during my young age, yes, I was young. I am young, and I shall remain young for always and forever. Frankly speaking, I want to add one thing. During our days, we use friends. Friends means classmate, college mate, schoolmate, batchmate, roommate. These are our friends. Hostel mate, college mate, classmate. These are. We do not use in our time. There was no word boyfriend, girlfriend. Nowadays, friend is less important. The subject is less important. The adjective is more important. Girlfriend, boyfriend. Friend is less important. So, whatever I made, maybe, I was a tube light. I do not understand. Not in earlier days, not it now also, not in coming days, whether I will be or not, I do not know. But earlier I was a tube light, and at present I am a tube light. But I do not know about my future, whether I will be tube light or some sensitive. So this is my last chapter. Another gentleman, another my friend, casually during telephonic discussion, he had asked me, nowadays you do not, I do not see any articles in journals and papers and somewhere else. I told him, yes, I am stopping writing in articles or papers in journal or somewhere. I have no time at all. What we are doing? Well, I will be making some short YouTube presentation. He was quite unhappy by this switch over. I tell you one thing frankly, I do not, I have no practice to tell you some little luxury of wrong information. I do not like it. I am very simple. I am outer and I do not have outer and inner. I am one only. I am only one. I do not have outer and inner. Lot of people they are having two front, outer and inner, but I am not such type of gentleman. So in 1996, how many time it is? 22 years. Another, that is 4 years, that is 26 years. 26 years back, I had presented one paper regarding pile foundation, the alternative economic of well foundation. My paper was, I was given 15 minutes time to present my paper, and question hours, it is about 45 minutes, and no one try to understand what I am saying. Even the chair has remarked in his conclusion deliverings that since I am presenting the paper, I must say something in my favor to safeguard the word economy. Some of my close friends were there. They are even casually said me, it is not worth of discussion of a national level conference. It should be some local conference. It should be discussed in some local conference. It should not be brought to a national level conference. Now you see, comparatively all over the India, all bridge foundations are nowadays switched over to well foundation, from well foundation to pile foundation. Even recently, last few years, in Brahmaputra also, Brahmaputra is a very big river, having peculiar behavior than the rest of the country. In Brahmaputra, having so much of velocity, so much of an immature river characteristics, young Himalayan river in Brahmaputra, all bridges and constructions using a boat casting to pile. No wells today, no wells are provided, which was suggested by me 26 years back. And that day, people perhaps thought, I have some doubts. Some learned scholars also, they did not say a single word for my behalf. They all, again, discussion is necessary. Good or bad, all discussion should be there. But it does not mean that this type of, since I am presenting the paper, I must say something in my favor. This should not be remarks. And this paper shall not be considered for national conference, national level conference. This comment is not wise for young generation, for coming days. Now, what I said, all are following this. Then what is my use of wasting my time in the name of presentation of papers? Today I am saying, last 53 years I am in this field. Lot of works I am doing. Lot of works. No one can imagine so much of works. I am associated with many projects. I am saying, had I been associating in literature or some other activities, I shall be known by everyone. Constantly I am working last 53 years. So now 22, so it is 53 years. Last 53 years I am in the same field without going to any other corner. But what I did nothing. Had I been devoted my entire life in literature, in writing some novel, some drama, then definitely quite a lot of people shall know me. I am deprived of that things. But my best purpose of life is I am trying to, what I know I want to give you. After my death, I cannot take this to anywhere. So, at present, during my living, I want to give some interested young people for next generation. At least they may be helpful. Hope I'll be discussing another few questions. One major question is regarding some responsibilities of geotechnical professional. That will be a very, very interesting subject for me. Please all be happy. Please all be healthy. All be blissful and contented. My best wishes, warm regards, always with you for all well of you. In case any further information, I am always available at jcgogoi@gmail.com. Thank you. Please have a nice day.